GamingBolt presents 13 games with mind-bending multiple solutions for puzzles. How many times have you encountered puzzles in video games and scoffed at how simple the solution is? You should probably take a closer look. Sometimes the same puzzle can be completed in multiple different ways, or it's actually just a really bad puzzle. That's also possible. Here are a few games which revel in multiple solutions for their puzzles, challenging the player to either scoot by, completely exploit every single mechanic, or recoil in horror at the randomness. Space Kim. Space Kim is an intriguing and wickedly clever title that challenges you to create different designs for effectively converting raw materials into chemicals. It sounds straightforward, but the actual process is full of potential since you can determine how different outputs are constructed, what the best ways to streamline production can be, and everything else in between. It's fairly complex and not the easiest to dive into for beginners, but that moment where everything just clicks together for your own personal eureka moment is fantastic. Scribblenauts. The very nature of Scribblenauts lets you write the name of an item on screen. That item will materialize before you, thus resulting in multiple possible solutions. So it's not impossible to, say, summon a helicopter and a rope so that protagonist Maxwell can rescue someone who's been injured. You could also summon a carnivore, like a raptor, tie a piece of meat to a pole and dangle it in front of the beast while riding it. The only limit is your imagination. TRINE 2. TRINE has always been an interesting side-scrolling puzzle platformer series, although let's pretend TRINE 3 isn't a thing though. This is exemplified with TRINE 2, where you combine the different abilities of Zoya, Pontius, and Amadeus in unique ways. For instance, you could have Zoya fire at a root, keeping two parts of a pipe separate, thus joining them and letting you ride the steam upwards. Or you can throw down a magic block with Amadeus, use Pontius's shield to get a boost up, and then levitate the block with Pontius on it to progress forward. Make no mistake, there are lots of bizarre solutions to seemingly mundane obstacles. Gunpoint. Tom Francis is quite the ingenious soul when it comes to providing players with multiple different ways to play in his games. This is especially apparent in Gunpoint, where you can use a variety of tools to complete a mission as quickly, loudly, or violently as you'd like. You can choose to pounce on guards from the ceiling, crosswire their guns to trap doors so they'll plummet to their deaths when firing at you, or even trap enemies inside rooms while you go about your business. As missions become more complex, so too will your ingenious ways to complete them. Heat Signature. Francis is at it again with Heat Signature, a combination of Gunpoint's open-ended solutions and Hotline Miami's overhead combat. Players can actually take control of different characters with different starting items and stories. Missions are more or less randomly generated, and players can pick up different tools to help them along the way. Otherwise, you pretty much have full freedom on how you want to proceed. Knock out guards non-lethally, smash windows to exit ships, and lasso your spaceship to help pick you up, or get even more creative. Monaco. Much like Heat Signature and Gunpoint, how you progress through arcade heist title Monaco is up to the character chosen, routes explored, items used, and more. Employ disguises as the gentleman, choose the mole to tunnel into hard-to-reach places, use the cleaner for killing, have the locksmith bust into different safes, and even go with the redhead to seduce foes. With co-op support, the potential solutions for completing heists are fairly high. Silent Hill 2. Unlike many games on this list, Silent Hill 2 doesn't quite offer numerous solutions for a single puzzle within the difficulty tier. What it instead does is change the solution for puzzles across different difficulties. This is perhaps best evidenced in the coin puzzle, where an inscription detailing the placement of the coins to unlock the dresser becomes more complex. It goes from a simple 7-line inscription on easy to a full-on cryptic poem on extra difficulty. The same can be seen in the door code puzzle in Brookhaven Hospital. Normal difficulty has you simply finding the code. Hard difficulty, on the other hand, uses a riddle to have you guess the code. It's a fairly unique touch for its time and shows that Konami had the foresight to challenge players in other ways besides tougher enemies or less healing items. Dishonored 2. The Jindosh lock can be quite the doozy in Dishonored 2's 6th mission. You can either gain the trust of the Overseers or the Howler gang to open it, or find the solution by going through both factions' bases. But what if you try solving the lock yourself? To do that, you need to figure out the Jindosh riddle, which is right next to the lock. The problem is that the riddle and its subsequent solution are randomized, so you won't be able to copy and paste someone else's solution. It's essentially a logic grid puzzle, but it's fairly tough and likely not worth being able to skip a larger portion of the mission. The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. Though some players have lambasted The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild's shrines for not being as intricate as some old-school dungeons, the ingenuity you can unleash to solve them is unparalleled. You might think to pick up a metal orb to complete an electric circuit, but instead, you can create a metal line with your weapons and shields instead. That's not even getting into the insanity of Hyla Rao's Shrine, where you can create ice blocks to move forward and effectively skip all of the puzzles, or you shield jump onto some nearby ledges to get up top, or you attach some octo balloons to make a wooden plank float up to reach the top. That's only the tip of the insanity iceberg. The Witness. The Witness is filled with puzzles, which is a key part of the game's appeal. Many puzzles have multiple solutions as evidenced in the treehouse. You can either complete the puzzle and immediately join another path, or go straight forward where an Easter egg, a perspective puzzle of sorts, awaits. If that weren't enough, you could go left and explore a hidden path, which is used for the true ending. Each solution offers a different point to exit from, but it's interesting how each seems like a different alternative for one's journey. Quest for Glory 4: Shadows of Darkness. This Sierra adventure title was interesting for its time since it allowed players to choose different classes and invest in different stats like an RPG. Depending on the class you played or what you were good at, different solutions would become available for problems. In the Cave of Shadows, for instance, the fighter can simply cross over on the rope without any issue, while the wizard will need to use cloth for a sail and levitate across. Similarly, when collecting berries for making a pie, you can either throw rocks at a bush until they fall off as the fighter or thief, or simply force bolt the berries off as a wizard. Portal 2. It seems Valve invented Portal for two different kinds of people: those who want to struggle with solutions and those who are insane enough to create their own. The 1982 test chamber, for example, requires you to navigate a stream of conversion gel around the room to effectively plant portals and travel all the way to the top. Some players have taken to circumventing this entirely, using the momentum that falling through portals can provide to get up to the top. This is only one such case, mind you. The other chambers have their own different little ways of being worked out. Broken Age. Fetching art style and charming characters aside, Broken Age is deceptively devious with its puzzles. The knot puzzle in particular is a throwback to the days of LucasArts-style puzzles that tortured you with their inane logic. You essentially have to untie a knot, but can't do it yourself, requiring advice from other characters. These instructions, which are obscure sentences if anything else, must be described to a person who will then untie it. Got that? Mess one step up and the knot resets itself, requiring a new set of nonsense instructions to untie. You could try every possible combination of instructions and eventually succeed, or you could go insane, which sounds like a far easier option. And that about does it for this video. If you enjoyed what you watched and want to see more from GamingBolt, you can always hit that subscribe button and turn on the bell icon next to it. That way you will never miss any of our videos.